I seriously didn't know that things got this bad for this Rachel Zegler Snow White movie, but I'm reading this right now, and I'm worried about Rachel Zegler's career. I don't see how she comes back from this.
There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and it couldn't happen to a better person.
She doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. And mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Controversy around the film began ever since we learned that there would be no Prince Charming because apparently he kissed her without consent, and also no woman needs a man to rescue her. The movie also used CGI for the 7 dwarfs rather than actors because they thought using real people would be offensive.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat. Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it. And then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage.
I don't think they're going to buy it. I don't think they're going to watch it. I don't think they're going to like it.
But Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim. And that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
You know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Do you know, like, how hard it is to find an attractive young woman in Hollywood who can act and sing? It's not hard. Like, who just isn't going to offend half the country?
This truly is the worst casting, maybe, in the history of the film industry.
Disney's Bob Iger says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live-action Disney adaptation ever.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed. She's unhappy. The reality is she's just not stable. Like the majority of people in Hollywood, they're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too.
Some of you want us to hire actual dwarf humans, and then we thought we would have CGI magical creatures. How about this? We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarf.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, how badly did Disney's new Snow White flop after all?
I don't need your business. Thanks.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
Could Disney's Snow White remake have been cursed from the very beginning? Picture this: a beloved fairy tale, a rising star, and a studio banking on magic. Yet somehow, it all spiraled into one of Hollywood's messiest disasters. Rachel Zegler, the young actress at the center of it all, went from Golden Girl to the face of a firestorm. But how did it get this bad? Let's unravel the chaos step by step and see what really went down.
Every one of the 18 hours I am in the Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
I mean, look at this right here. Snow White crashes 70% in second weekend box office.
Back in 2021, the internet buzzed when Disney announced Rachel Zegler as their new Snow White. Fresh off her breakout role in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, she seemed like the perfect pick. At just 20, she had a voice that could melt hearts and a charm that screamed Disney princess. Fans were hyped, picturing a live-action remake that would honor the 1937 classic while adding a modern twist. Disney promised a musical extravaganza with new songs and a nod to the original's magic. Expectations soared, but that wasn't the whole story.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
Fast forward to 2022, and the first cracks started showing. Rachel didn't hold back in interviews, calling the original Snow White dated and poking fun at its prince, saying he gave off stalker vibes. She wasn't wrong to want a stronger heroine. Plenty of fans agreed the 1937 version felt old school, but her words hit a nerve. Social media erupted, with some calling her ungrateful for dissing a classic that built Disney's empire. Comments flooded in. Why take the role if you hate the story? Suddenly, the hype train started wobbling, and that was just the beginning.
Zoom in right there, that's it. 163,000 rating, of which it got 1.6, not out of 5. Like, you know, sometimes you go to McDonald's, it's 1.6 out of 5.
Yeah.
1.6 out of 10.
Because once more, look at this right here. This movie has crashed in the second week that it's been out. 70% this movie crashed.
Then came the dwarf dilemma, and things got even messier. In early 2022, Game of Thrones star Peter Dinklage slammed Disney's remake plans on a podcast, calling the story of 7 dwarfs backwards. He argued it leaned on stereotypes, even as Disney celebrated casting a Latina Snow White. The backlash was swift. Dinklage's words carried weight. Disney scrambled, announcing they ditch human actors for CGI magical creatures to avoid offense. But that move backfired too. Actors with dwarfism like Martin Kleba spoke out, saying they'd lost rare job opportunities. Fans piled on, mocking the CGI as a cheap cop-out. The film hadn't even hit theaters, and it was already a lightning rod.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on.
Go get Cheshire Cat.
Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Wow, what a scene.
I don't need your business.
There are 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
But that wasn't the only storm brewing. By 2023, Rachel Zegler and her co-star Gal Gadot found themselves on opposite sides of a global hot-button issue. Rachel, vocal about supporting Palestine, posted messages that sparked heated debates online. Meanwhile, Gadot, a former Israeli soldier, stood firmly pro-Israel. Their clashing views turned Snow White into a political flashpoint. Activists called for boycotts, with some targeting Gadot's past and others slamming Zegler's posts. Disney stayed silent, but the internet didn't. Hashtags trended and the film's fanbase split before a single trailer dropped. Could things get any worse?
The movie went over budget, right? Went over about $250 million. They had the whole dwarf midget issue where they decided they weren't going to have any midget actors, right? They were having DEI-inspired magical creatures to replace.
Yeah. I remember back in 2023 when this was going on and all the little people making videos saying, well, wait, there's so few roles for us in Hollywood. We're being passed over for this. You could have cast 7 little
Peter
people.
Dinklage.
Apparently, yes. When March 2025 rolled around, Disney's big premiere for Snow White was oddly quiet. Insiders whispered the studio scaled it back. No red carpet, no press frenzy. Why? Some said it was to dodge tough questions about Rachel and Gal's politics. Others pointed to test screenings that left audiences cold. One source claimed Disney executives were in panic mode, sensing a flop. The vibe was off and fans noticed. Social media buzzed with questions. Was Disney hiding something? The answer would come soon enough.
Her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern day America must make that choice.
Opening weekend hit, and the numbers told a grim tale. Snow White pulled in $44.3 million domestically, a fraction of what Disney hoped for a $250 million film. Globally, it scraped together $143 million after weeks, trailing far behind remakes like The Little Mermaid or Aladdin. Theaters sat half empty, with some fans walking out, calling it flat or soulless. Critics were split. Some praised Rachel's singing, others roasted the script as a clunky mess. Disney's golden touch seemed to falter, but the real sting was still coming.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story.
with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Online, the film faced a brutal reckoning. On IMDb, Snow White's rating tanked to a jaw-dropping 1.6 out of 10, with over 91% of 270,000 reviews giving it 1 star. The site slapped a disclaimer on it, warning of unusual voting activity. Review bombing was in full swing. Some called it a coordinated attack, fueled by anger over Rachel's comments or the film's changes. Others argued the movie just wasn't good, pointing to creepy CGI dwarfs and a story that felt patched together. Rotten Tomatoes told a different story, with 74% of audiences liking it, but the damage was done. The internet had spoken, and it wasn't kind.
People have real problems and no one gives a if she got paid for 17 instead of 18 on her multi-million-dollar salary, which is not calculated by the...
Yet not everyone was against Rachel. Stars like Melissa Barrera, fired from Scream 7 over similar political posts, rallied behind her, calling her cool as hell for standing firm. Ariana Grande, Jamila Jamil, and others chimed in, praising her talent and grit. Fans on X posted support, arguing she was being unfairly targeted for being outspoken and Latina. One viral post read, "Rachel's catching hate for existing, not acting," but the noise was deafening. Love her or hate her, she was the story, and that led to bigger questions.
Be a leader as a female and fall in love and be rescued by a prince, like that's incongruous. Bull. That's only the left's version of what it means to be a strong woman or female empowerment. So she just encapsulates everything that most of us cannot stand about modern day feminism and the left in general, and Hollywood.
So, what's next for Rachel Zegler? At 23, she's got a resume most actors dream of: West Side Story, The Hunger Games prequel, and now a Disney lead. But whispers in Hollywood paint a tougher picture. Some say studios see her as a risk, pointing to Snow White's losses and her knack for sparking debates. Others argue she's a scapegoat, taking the fall for Disney's missteps, like betting big on a remake nobody asked for. Rumors swirl that Disney's cooling on her, with no new projects tied to her name. Still, she's got defenders betting she'll bounce back, maybe in theater or indie films where her voice shines. One thing's clear, her next move will be watched closely.
Disney's Bob Iger says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live-action Disney.
This whole Snow White saga feels like a fairy tale gone rogue. A mix of big dreams, bold choices, and epic misfires. Disney thought they could reimagine a classic, but instead they stirred up a hornet's nest. Was Rachel the problem, or just caught in the crossfire? And can Disney's magic survive a flop this loud? One question lingers. When you rewrite a story everyone knows, do you risk losing the heart that made it timeless? Tell me what you think. Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep this story going.